Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cleaning Lady podcast. So, this episode is about clients who I've had to let go. And it doesn't happen very often. Now, I've only got two clients that I can think of in my 12 years that have really been quite memorable and the reasons why I had to let them go. Usually, there'll be a tingling of my spider senses when I'm meeting a client and I just think, no, 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 no. And then I'll get back to the office and send them an email and say, we don't have any availability, I'm ever so sorry, or something along those lines. And so the first client, he was actually a really lovely guy. And I think the reason my spider senses didn't tingle was because he was such a lovely guy and there was nothing wrong with him at all. It was actually his wife who was a bit of a cow. Sorry. So he showed me around the house and explained that they had a wellness retreat in Spain and that was their business. So they were used to having cleaners there. He was probably in his 60s or something like that. I always like to do the first clean, and his wife was quite abrupt and she would just bark orders at me. And I just thought, oh God, this is not going to be fun, but we'll just see how it goes. The client's requests got odder and odder. Now, we don't mind doing different things, but these were what you would consider well beyond the scope of regular domestic cleaning. She would ask the girls to get up on a ladder and clean the outside windows on the first floor. Now, we are not insured for that. So I'd have to ring her and explain. And then the next week it would be, can you go up a ladder and hoover up all the spiders in the loft? And I would have to ring her again and say, look, this isn't the kind of thing we do. Just for future reference, a general clean is the kitchen, bathroom, hoovering, dusting, polishing, mopping floors, take out the rubbish. Then another week, she just left a big pile of washing up for the cleaner. That's not what we're there to do. We're not there to wash up after you. And again, I had to contact her and say, look, we don't typically handle dishes. We just, we don't mind washing up a cup or a plate or whatever, but when you've got pots and pans and last night's dinner, that's really taking the piss, if you ask me. And then she would ask things like hosing down the garden path, cleaning out the big bins in the garden with a hose, gardening, things like that. And we're not window cleaners, we're not gardeners, we're not insured to be going up ladders. It wasn't just that the jobs that she was asking the girls to do, it was the way that she spoke to them. There was no please, no thank you. It was just these demands all the time. Our clients generally don't speak to us like that. I have great clients. They treat us with respect. We go in, we do the job. Hi, how are you? Would you like a coffee? Blah, blah, blah. And we'll just get on with the job. But this lady really made the cleaners feel uncomfortable, so much so that they didn't want to go back. I had to send them an email and just say, look, I'm really sorry, but your cleaner has decided to leave the company. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone else that I can replace her. And I'm really sorry, but it's just all happened unexpectedly. So I'm afraid we're going to have to cancel your cleaning service from now on. So it was a little white lie, but I sent her in the direction of one of my competitors. The second lady that I'm going to talk about, she also seemed very nice initially. But one day, the cleaner was there cleaning and the client came home from work. And she just said to them, don't empty any bins because if you do, there'll be hell to pay. Now, who speaks to somebody like that? All you have to do is say, please don't empty any bins because I do that myself when they're full. That's all you have to say. You don't have to add or there'll be hell to pay. But this lady always used to end her emails or any interaction with some sort of threat, whether it be, or there'll be hell to pay, or I'm close to cancelling my contract with you. And she always used to say this. And I just thought, well, if you're unhappy with us, don't stay with us. Stop threatening to cancel your contract with us. So just go if you're not happy. So the event that actually caused us to cancel the contract was the cleaner had accidentally broken something. And we do break things occasionally, but we always get it fixed. And in this case, it was the lever, the little dial that adjusts the shower head up and down. But they're very inexpensive, although I realise that it's the inconvenience of it all rather than the cost. of the item that's broken. Now, the client called me in a rage. She left an answer phone message and she said, "What the hell has happened to my shower?" And I'd actually had sent her an email. She hadn't seen the email, judging by her tone of voice when she shouted in her answer phone message. And I rang her and I said, "Okay, I'm really sorry that this has happened. I'm going to replace it for you, like for like, and I will get it fitted for you if you want." And she just said, "No, I don't want you to get it fitted because you don't dictate who comes into my property." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was offering to get it fixed for her so that she didn't have to worry about it. And she thought it was me trying to dictate who was going to go in her property. So anyway, I paid for it. It was £6. I got her the replacement part. She was happy with that. And I assumed the case was closed. But a couple of months later, she contacted me to inform me that part was just temporary and she'd now purchased another one and she wanted me to pay for it. And I was just like, "No, because I've already paid for it. I've already bought you another piece." And to me, that was a permanent part. She was happy with that. If it had been a mismatch of colours, then of course I would consider that a temporary part. But it was like for like, and it matched the rest of her bathroom. It was a silver bracket and it was a silver lever that I purchased. The same colour as her shower, the same colour as her taps. It was all exactly the same. And she was just like, "Again, I'm close to cancelling my contract with you." And she was making such a big deal out of this. Also complain about things like when it was Christmas and she wasn't having a clean over Christmas, and the day that we could offer her, she didn't want. And I remember her saying, "Your staff are very lucky that you let them," she said, "that you let them take time off over Christmas and New Year, as most employers wouldn't." And yeah, so she just wasn't a very nice person at all. So at the end of the email, there was the usual, "I'm close to cancelling my contract with you." So I just thought, "Do you know what? I've really had enough of this." So I replied and I just said, "Look, I really don't like the way that you speak to me. And I think it's time that we part ways." She wanted the keys back immediately, like there and then, because she was worried that I might access her property. Why would I go into her property? We're a professional company. The only time that I'm going to go into somebody's property is to clean it. I don't have all these keys and I'm just thinking, "Oh, whose house can I go into tonight? Let's go and intimidate so-and-so." Like, come on, I'm a professional. It's a professional company. We don't do that. And I was really surprised that she thought that I would. So they are the times that I have had to fire a client. I think I've had to in the past, but nothing as dramatic as what I've spoken about. And I can't even remember them, but it's very, very rare that it happens. But these two were quite memorable for me. So thank you again for listening to another episode of the Cleaning Lady podcast, and I'll be back next Friday.